Well, a very good morning to you. Many thanks for, of course, choosing K24 TV. There's a particular morning on the 27th day of August 2024. Just to be clear, exactly 14 days since the Kenyan Constitution was promulgated. That, of course, happened on the 27th of August 2010. Now, this comes on a very, very special day for former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who President William Ruto is set to officially launch his bid to become the AUC chairperson and succeed Musa Faki Mahamat in an event set to happen this particular morning at State House, Nairobi. The event is set to be graced by various heads of state of the East African community, including South Sudan's Salva Kiir Mayardit, who is already in the country. The president of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu, is also expected to attend that particular event on the invitation of President William Samoei Ruto. Dignitaries from Rwanda and Burundi and other East African countries, including the president of Somalia, are expected to be in Nairobi, at State House to be specific, to witness the historic event. Remember, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is seeking to succeed Musa Faki Mahamat, and this is Kenya's second bid. Remember, back in 2017, the then CS for Foreign Affairs Ambassador Amina Mohamed did vie but lost that particular, of course, seat to his counterpart, Musa Faki Mahamat, who is now exiting office. Now, this again comes on a day that teachers are set to continue their strike. And when I say teachers, I'm just being specific because KUPPET are the ones on strike, because NAT did call off their strike on Sunday, despite the fact that yesterday a low turnout was witnessed across the country as schools officially opened, or rather reopened, for the third and final term of the year. Our question is, when will KUPPET down their tools? Will the government come to an agreement with the KUPPET or not, or KUPPET officials or not? Remember, in the beginning of last week, KUPPET did announce a national strike. At that particular point in time, they were, of course, supported by their counterparts in NAT. But just in the 11th hour, NAT did call off their strike. What is at stake? Because the education sector here in the country is in a crisis. Because this is the final term, and in as much as those in the primary schools are resuming their studies today, they were officially supposed to resume their studies yesterday, but like I said, there was low turnout. Today is the day when secondary schools across the country do officially reopen for the second term, but teachers are vowed to stay out of classrooms. We saw protests or demonstrations by teachers belonging to the KUPPET union in Kitale, Baringo, Nyeri, and various parts of the country. But this, of course, comes at a time when the government is in a race to ensure that the stalemate is solved. Yesterday, the CS for Education, Dr. Migos Ogamba, did say that if at all some of the issues that are set to be addressed will be addressed by TSC, for example, the issue of employment of teachers, that is 130,000 teachers who the union says must be, of course, promoted because they underwent interviews. Dr. Migos Ogamba said that is something that they can settle with the employer. Their employer, that is the Teachers Service Commission. I will be talking much more about that, and of course including the funding model, which continues to elicit mixed reactions here in the country. But before we go and look at whatever is making headlines this particular morning on the news, remember that President William Ruto yesterday did allude to the NYS receiving training on basic use of firearms, a statement that has not gone well with a section of Kenyans after the same proposal was shot down in 2020 by the spy agency, that is the NIS, with Kenyans raising questions on what implications will that particular directive have here in the country. We'll be, of course, looking at that this particular morning with my panelists, but at this particular moment in time, I just want us to have a look at what's making headlines in the local news. And remember, you can, of course, engage with us across our social media platforms at K24 TV, at Ian Kitani. This is the New Dawn. And yet again, thank you very much for making time to be with us this particular morning. It's time we have a look at what's making headlines. And a lower number of primary school students than expected returned to school yesterday after the Kenya National Union of Teachers withdrew its strike notice. Traders selling uniforms and other school wares reported a decline in customers, blaming this situation on the strike notice. To assess the situation, Education CS Julius Ogamba visited various schools where he warned school heads charging unauthorized levies, saying the government had already disbursed capitation for the third term. Muriel Odhiambro reports.
A day after the Kenya National Union of Teachers cancelled its planned strike, students have begun to return to school for the third term, albeit in lower numbers.
Thank you so much.
However, the number of parents buying uniform and other school wares has decreased compared to previous school terms. Here, at Githurai Market, traders lamented the absence of customers, blaming the strike notice.
Wazazi kulingana na venye wamefinyika kimaisha, alafu sasa mgomo isemekane iko, ni kama shule inatatizika. Shule huwa inasaidia watu wengi sana, kutoka magari, kutoka mahoteli, supermarket. So tungeomba hata kama shida iko, pande ya elimu wajaribu kuangalia sana.
Bernard Gitomo, whose son is a grade 6 pupil, says the announcement of the strikes by the Kenya National Union of Teachers and the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers created confusion, which has affected turnout.
Watoto ni lazima wakule. So, unangojea kwanza kamgomo ka push ndio uone kama utaweza to maintain some of the things.
He wants the government to move with speed to address the teachers' demands.
Mwalimu si ni binadamu na watoto pia. Hata maybe in one way or the other anahitaji alipie watoto wake kila mahali walipo. So, ni right yake tu kugoma ndio aone kama anafinyika, aone hata yeye kama atapata kuhitimu mahitaji yake.
To assess the situation, Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba today visited several schools in Machakos, Kajiado and Nairobi counties to inspect preparations for the third term. Ogamba said the government has provided 21.8 billion shillings in capitation for this term, warning that school principals who charge students illegal levies or withhold their certificates will be sanctioned.
I wish to take this opportunity to call upon school managers to make prudent use of the resources that have been disbursed to them. We therefore do not expect that any child will be sent away from school for unauthorized levies. Our field officers are under firm instructions to report any such cases to our office for immediate action.
Ogamba also announced that the construction of 16,000 ninth grade classes will be completed by December.
Currently, we are constructing 3,500 classrooms countrywide, and this week, in fact this morning, we have disbursed another 7.5 billion to schools for the construction of 7,500 classrooms more.
Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang, who visited Masikonde Primary School in Narok County, said the government had already piloted assessments for ninth grade students.
KICD, our Kenya Institute for Curriculum Development, have prepared and finalized the required books. From October, November, we shall be distributing books to our schools, books for grade 9. In November, while running our normal examinations, our assessment for CAPSEA, we shall also run now another pilot, which is exactly replica of the exam assessment that we shall be doing in grade 9.
Muriel Odhiambro, K24 TV, Nairobi.
From primary school teachers to their counterparts in high school, and Education CS Julius Migus Ogamba has called on the Kenya Union for Post-Primary Education Teachers (KUPPET) to call off their strike immediately, saying that the funds have already been allocated to settle the teachers' needs as per the 2021-2025 CBA. Now, earlier yesterday, teachers under KUPPET took to the streets in different parts of the country to air their grievances. Robbie Omondi with the details.
Teachers under the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education today took to the streets in different parts of the country, vowing not to go to any classroom until their grievances are heard and resolved.
Bad labor practices tumekataa. Tunataka JSS wakuwe confirmed and Teacher Service Commission obey the court order. Muliambiwa hamuna anywhere in your policies mandate ya kuajiri mtu kama intern ama contract. Yes. You only have one mandate, employ teachers on permanent and pensionable terms.
This led to the Ministry of Education, led by its Cabinet Secretary, Julius Migos, to call upon the union to end their strike, saying that funds have already been allocated to address their issues as per the 2021-2025 CBA.
Everybody wants a decision. We don't want the strike. It is third term. Students are going to do their exams. It's not a good time. And it's not a time that when the government has become very open and authentic to say we have this challenge, how do we deal with it? You come to the table and we discuss it.
In Uasin Gishu County, for instance, the teachers said that despite their strike notice in the past days, their demands have not been met.
When we say we are striking as Kupet, and I want to put it very clear, tomorrow we shall be visiting schools. I'm even telling my colleagues who are trying to not withdraw services. Tomorrow we shall be in those schools, gate by gate. Those ones who are having staff meetings today, waambie sisi tumesema tunawakujia.
Parents also expressed their concerns, saying that their children may be affected if the strike continues.
Ningeomba sana wale walimu ambao ni wa board katika nchi nzima waende shule, watoto wapate elimu, kwa sababu hivi sasa watoto exam zao ziko on the door.
The situation was not different in Meru, Mombasa, Taita Taveta, Kisii, Embu and Nandi counties, where the teachers have vowed not to step back on their strike.
And we are on strike from today, tomorrow, on Wednesday, on Friday, next week, next month, next year, until our demands are met.
Robbie Omondi, K24.
Well, that comes after the leadership of Kupet, led by Akila Misori, did hold a 5-hour meeting with Labour CS Alfred Mutua yesterday, but they did not arrive at a solution that will, of course, avert the strike or lead to the end of the strike. And according to Misori, the CS for Labour, Alfred Mutua, did say that they've agreed to have to hold talks that will have, the union call off its strike, and he will be meeting, the CS rather, will be meeting with the TSC today to try and find an amicable solution. Now, moving forward, President William Ruto has defended the new university funding model, insisting that there has always been banding in terms of funding. The president says that he rather added one band to the 4 that existed before to make them 5, saying it will help make education more affordable for every Kenyan.
Demands on the new funding model over the criteria used to cluster students, President William Ruto has reiterated that those categorized in wrong bands can appeal their cases.
We have a parent earning 25,000 shillings, and the firstborn has made it to JKUAT to do financial engineering. But this family has 7 people. It has 6 siblings under the person who has made it to financial engineering. So, under what category does this person fall?
Whatever is written here, hashtag fee has fallen. Your Excellency, the fee has not fallen, that's why we are here. What was so wrong with the old funding model that we could not sit down and amend?
There's been cases, legitimate cases, of some students who have been placed in the wrong band. There is an opportunity for a parent or a student, if they are banded in a band that they don't think they belong, there is an appeals process. They award that the processing will take 3 weeks.
The 5 band categories, which are based on family income, will classify students based on their household's ability to afford school fees, with the most financially disadvantaged receiving greater government sponsorship and loans. In Band 1, which includes orphaned students, those with disabilities, households under the cash transfer program, and parents earning below 6,000 shillings per month, will get an increased funding for scholarship and loans of 95% from the initial 80% of the 95. 70% of the fee will be paid by government, 25% as loans from HELB, and 5% of the fees will be covered by the household. Additionally, students in these categories will receive an addition upkeep of 60,000 shillings. Band 2, which includes students coming from low-income families that earn in the downwards of 25,000 shillings per month, These categories will get a 60% scholarship from government, 30% in loans, while 10% will be food by the household. They will also get a 55,000 shillings in upkeep. Band 3, which includes those from households earning up to 70,000 shillings per month, will receive 80% of government funding, with 50% in government scholarship and 30% loans, and 20% of it will be food by the household, as they receive 50,000 shillings as upkeep money. Band 4 are students from households earning up to 120,000 shillings and will receive 40,000 as government sponsorship and 30% as loans. The families will also foot the remaining 30% in fees, as they get 45,000 as a student's upkeep. Band 5 will include students from the households earning more than 120,000 shillings per month, which will only receive 30% of government sponsorship, 30% of the loans, and 40% will be paid by their families, with 45,000 shillings as a student's upkeep. Currently, 134,049 students have applied for funding. Among them, 21,840 are classified in Band 1, while 26,920 are in Band 2. Bands 3 and 4 includes 36,947 and 28,280 students respectively, while Band 5 includes 9,228 students, with another 10,814 students being self-sponsored. Bentura Kwamboka, K24, Nairobi.
Now, the Gen Z movement vowed to be back on the streets in another round of protest today. The threats to shut down Nairobi city came on the eve of the 14th anniversary of the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. The groups, comprising of at least 59 civil society organizations, are demanding an all-inclusive accountability as well as justice for those killed during the recent protests.
Barely 24 hours before the country marks the 14th anniversary of the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, a section of 59 civil organizations have vowed to hold demos on tomorrow.
We are undertaking a mass action, a general strike, a people-led agitation for the respect of our Constitution. Our political class has decided to do nothing but subvert the sanctity of our Constitution. We are asking you to join us in this cry for justice. We are asking you to join us in our acts of civil disobedience to deal with this rogue regime.
Taking to the streets to collect signatures to amend the Constitution, their peaceful demos were shortly lived following the arrest of their key leaders, Linda Ugatuzi leader, Fredo Golan Tijan Party's leader, Muthiora Kariara.
I've been arrested here. We were just collecting signatures in town to amend the Constitution of Kenya. William Ruto has got the three manuals: the Constitution, the laws of Kenya, the policies of Kenya, and he's not only unable, but is uninterested. So we cannot discuss with you something outside the Constitution like Hustler Fund.
Tuna rise kama generation ya Wakenya leo kusema we are interested in birthing a new republic that respects human rights, that respects the rule of law, and that upholds social justice for the people of Kenya.
William Ruto, in 23 very short months, has violated the first 14 chapters of our Constitution.
According to the group of activists, there is little to celebrate as the country plans to commemorate the existence of the 2010 Constitution for over 14 years.
Are we giving them time to mislead our Constitution? No. No time, Ruto, no time. No time. No time, Ruto, no time. No time. No time, Ruto, no time. No time. Ruto must go because he has refused and is uninterested to do what is clear in the Constitution.
The activists are also demanding for an inclusive government, accountability as well as justice for those killed during the previous protest.
Those people who put their bodies in the street and are willing to sacrifice themselves all will not accept the Kenya Kwanza regime and his new friends in opposition to make sure that the young people that lost their lives in the street defending this constitution go in vain.
Over 300,000 Kenyans were injured and over 60 killed and others abducted or are still missing. Milia Kisienya, K24 TV.
Very interesting story there, 14 years after the Constitution was promulgated. Now, the government will increase the number of the National Youth Service intake to enhance the program's reach and inclusivity. While presiding over the 88th Recruits Pass-Out Parade at Elgil, Nakuru County, President William Ruto has also directed that the NYS recruits be taken through a basic course in firearms to prepare them to protect the country when need arises. Timothy Seymour tells us more.
The National Youth Service Program may just become more lucrative going forward. President William Ruto, while presiding over the 88th Recruits Passing Out Parade in Nakuru County, announced a raft of measures that will stir NYS for the better. To begin with, the head of state announced an increase in the number of recruits will be absorbed into the service in the next intake.
As I have directed that the next recruitment will have 20,000 recruits, I have today approved the recruitment of 200 additional cadet officers into the NYS and 500 private officers to support in the exemplary work that is going on at the National Youth Service.
Secondly, Dr. Ruto has ordered NYS recruits to be taken through a basic course in firearms to prepare them to defend the country on necessity basis. These will be a departure from the rudimentary paramilitary training that did not involve firearms.
The minister responsible for National Youth Service, who is here with me, should, in consultation with the Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Interior, further the initiative to make sure that the paramilitary training that these young men and women go through will include a basic course in firearms to make sure that they stand ready to protect the country when the need arises.
Additionally, as a way of promoting the service, Ruto says graduates from the NYS have been recruited in other areas, including 440 officers who were employed by the Kenya Wildlife Service, KWS. During the passing out ceremony, 14,602 recruits graduated.
These graduates have passed the rigors of paramilitary training and are ready to move to the next phase of the NYS program. In conclusion, sir, I wish to report that the National Youth Service personnel are grateful to you for improving their terms and conditions of service following the ongoing implementation of the Maraga Task Force recommendation.
They will now serve 1 year of public service, after which they will join technical training colleges at the expense of the government.
I am determined to transform NYS into a symbol of exemplary integrity, efficiency, and commitment to national transformation.
He further directed the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development to build hostels to host 3,000 recruits as well as small staff houses. Timothy Seymour, K24 TV.
Well, that is a story that has elicited mixed reactions across the country on the directive, rather proposal by President William Ruto that will see NYS recruits trained on the basic use of firearms. What do you make of that particular proposal? Now, on this particular note, this juncture, just want us to take a brief breather. We'll be back with what is making headlines on the local dailies. And like you can see, Mr. Wilson Sossion is here, as well as Dr. Isaac Hassan. That will be after this break. Don't go away.